Thank
I
you.
was reading within your website that you promote an ethical and human technological future. Can you explain what that means and like what that would look like within the world today?
Well, that's a great question, and I think we can talk about that like 1 hour, but sadly, I don't have that time, so I will go with the bullets that are the most important. The first of all is that we understand AI as a socio-technical issue. It's not only technical, you know, it gets feed from data that it's made by humans. It gets trained by the paradigms of the developers or researchers that are behind it. So it's not like, for example, some people say, no, AI is just a tool. It's not just a tool. It's much more than a tool. So when you understand the technology as a phenomenon, not only as a tool, and as a phenomenon that has a constant interaction, like we as developers or researchers or managers or people who are interacting with AI, we train the technology, but also the technology has a lot of impact in the way that we work, we think, we interact with other people. That opens a whole new paradigm or on what and how you should put attention on, you know, and that has consequences on, for example, um, the whole process of and here I will separate two different stuff. The first one is the whole process of building an AI solution that must start from the understanding where the data is coming from, how it had how we collect the data, how we create the data, how we organize it, and then and when you put attention on the whole process and you put an ethical view on the consequences of making that solution in each step, it gets much more easier to don't commit mistakes related to, for example, biased solutions or discriminatory solutions or harming solutions. So that's one way to see that has to do with the development of solutions. And the other way is a regulation or norms or standards that you establish for your work, not only inside, but also as national wide or regional wide in Latin America and the Caribbean. And in that point of view, it's very important to at first make the statement that AI has much more good impact than bad impact when you start from this paradigm that I said you first. So if you have the minimum care on the development of solutions, they won't be harmful at all. But even if they are not harmful, like for example, they are biased or something like that, you have to pay attention on the things that I told you before, like this interaction, this human computer interaction. And that's something that we are very strongly proposing on regulations, that you should not regulate like the use of systems, but the interaction between people and these systems, and to understand which are the consequences and the harmful consequences that can come out from this process of interaction. For example, I don't know, addictions or loss of some competences or something like that. So when we talk about ethical approximation to AI, the, the main principle is to put AI at service of the people. And these two ways that I have told you before are the main ways that we are doing on the developing of solutions, but also in the regulation discussion.
Yes. So how do you see it helping Chile in like overall with AI?
Well, we
How will it make a better place to live?
oof, it has, well, I think to make a resume on that, I think there are two ways that are quite important. The first one is to improve the provision of social services on healthcare, on education, on the user experience of the citizenships who goes to a public institution. For example, they never get answers, or they get delayed or something like that. So there's a huge field on how the state of the art of technology today, for very low prices and a little effort, can improve significantly the experience and the quality of this public services. So that's one way. And the other way, it's also to develop new businesses, develop new ways to people to have jobs. You know, there's a lot of discussion about the risk of automatization. And I don't think that's quite real, not even with the new technologies, because, you know, you will always keep a human on the loop, because as a species, we trust in humans. I trust you because you have two eyes, glasses, hair, everything, because you are one of my own kind. We will never, never have the human consciently. We will never take the human out of the loop. So I don't think there's a lot of risk on automatization. I think there's a lot of opportunities on new markets and new developments and new solutions that will require, and here is the big challenge, will require a lot of skills and competences that we are not quite familiar today with. Like, for example, we are not get used to interact with intelligent machines as from the school. We interact with computers and something like that, but they follow instructions. But this prompt approach, when you can actually have a conversation with a machine, when a machine can solve very difficult problems, opens a whole new way on how we face this the labor as the professions. So I think there's a lot of opportunities, much more than the risks, but on the same time, there are huge challenges, particularly on Chile and Latin American countries, or Southern Hemisphere in general, on which are the skills that you have to develop between population, like not only managers or programmers, but everyone, to be able to interact with this technology.
It's gonna take a while to trust that new development and everything.
Absolutely.
Do you see any environmental challenges within AI? I understand that you were explaining all the benefits, but do you see any challenges that are being created from these computers?
Absolutely, yes. I think the elephant in the room is the consumption of energy of this technology. Only for the development and the training of, for example, GPT 3.5, it required around $100 million on energy just for the training. So that don't considers the everyday interactions that everybody around the world is having with this mode. And that's just one. Gemini was around $197 million on energy cost for trade. So, and if you look to the stock of NVIDIA, you will see that they have, I don't know, multiplied by 4 their market value, because everybody is looking for computers, and computers are built on the idea that energy is limitless and it's cheap, and that's not true. So the energy consumption of these big machines that where these models live is the big issue that no one is talking about. We are trying to talk about that, and we have to move to a green AI paradigm where, for example, countries like, I don't know, Morocco or Turkey or Egypt or Chile, they have a lot of uh, renewable energy sources. So I think the world should invest, and the big techs should invest in developing their data centers in these kind of countries where you can access very cheap, clean energy instead of trying to buy carbon bonds or something like that. That's what they are doing today, actually. So from my point of view, the biggest issue here is energy consumption. Energy consumption will skyrocket when this gets inside companies. We are very, very on the margin of the use of Gen AI models everywhere. So in 5 years, it will skyrocket the consumption of energy. So energy prices probably will rise, or they will keep but on cheaper sources, for example, oil or coal. So it gets more dirtier. So the challenge today is, where are the big tech companies investing to develop these big facilities of computing for AI models? And I hope they invest in countries that have like cleaner energy matrices.
Yes, I do too. I hope so as well. And just the hopes within like social development and everything. Obviously, energy consumption is very important, and it leads to like bigger issues like people staying in like lower income communities, or obviously environmental degradation with like oil consumption and energy consumption. We see a lot of like the forests and the Amazonian like communities and everything. They're like becoming affected because of obviously this development and everything, and it's leading to great innovation and everything, but there's also negative outcomes as well. Do you
Absolutely.
do you see like any social negative outcomes because of this, or like you were saying, it's mostly gonna lead to better things? Because we know now that
No,
like with employment.
mhm.
Oh, go ahead. I'm so sorry.
No, please.
Just the loss of employment, people are really scared that they're gonna lose their jobs to this AI.
Yes, but well, as I said, I think that probably will happen. Like, as with every, I don't know, with the invention of the elevator, people who operated elevators lost their jobs, or I don't know, with cars, people who ride horses and all this stuff. That happens. With, that that that
In
that has
history.
happened before and will happen in the future. So every technological innovation has that outcome. But obviously, with AI, it's much more general than only one purpose technology. It's a general purpose technology, and that's very challenging. But if you go closer on that phenomenon of job losses, it happens what I told you. From and there are two additional things. The first one is that the job that you do, for example, journalism, well, you have a lot of tasks inside your job. You are not being a journalist has to do a lot of research, writing. Um, it needs like criteria,
Communication
like
skills. Mm-hmm.
yes, a lot of things that are not only writing. You are not only a writer, because if you are only a writer, okay, ChatGPT can replace you, but you do a lot of other stuff that are not included in what ChatGPT or any LLM or multimodal model can do or will ever do, because they are not for all purposes. And so it's very important to understand that there will be some tasks that will be replaced by computers, but not jobs. And not jobs because not only this combination of tasks and skills, but also, and more important, because we trust in humans. It's something that it's inside our DNA. So we are afraid of non-human things. We are like DNA trained for that. We have survived as a species for millions of years because we have learned to survive trusting each other. We have rituals. We have a lot of elements that makes the idea of not having people working. It doesn't matter if you have or a robot that can do it better. You will always trust humans. So humans won't be apart, but many will lose their jobs. That's true. And the way to solve that is to understand which are the skills that are unreplaceable for like confidence, like the capacity of having critical thinking and all this stuff. That's the kind of abilities and skills that we should improve inside our workforce instead of training them for making things that machines can do better. So, and that's one element. And the second element that it's the one that worries me more, I think, is the risk of alienation. You know, machines are getting much more better to do a lot of different stuff. I see that every day in my job, for example, with GitHub Copilot. So developers are, well, they just run a program or prompt this Copilot to help them to develop code. And so they are thinking less, and thinking less means understanding less on what they are actually doing. So I don't think that's like productivity or work problem. I think that's much more deeper in the way that we are getting lazier. We can lose some abilities because it's much more easier to ask the model, you know. And when you put that, for example, on, I don't know, think about this. When my father went to university, he to learn something, to find some knowledge, he has to, well, learn like books, ask teachers, where can I find the answer for that? I don't know, ask this other. So that paradigm changed with internet because you don't need to go to the teacher. You can just Google it or Alta Vista it or Bing it. So you have this search engines, but they don't give you the answer. They give you the source. So you can go to the source and you have many sources available with one or two clicks. But now, to get knowledge, you can ask the model and the model give you the answer. So easy. So you don't need to think, to explore, to research. You just have to read. And that, I think, that can be a very big risk on our, as I told you, human capabilities, because we are losing something that it's curiosity to you know, it's something. Well, that's my biggest fear, not lost jobs or something like that. It's the loss of the species to the laziness. Like,
It says thank you. No, that's a very like good idea to bring up. I feel like a lot of people do not even bring up that idea that obviously as humans, we are getting so used to the access of information and how easily we are receiving it. So it's very easy for us to think, just be like, okay, let's ask ChatGPT. Or for like a homework assignment in university, oh, they could write the essay for us. But it's giving us a reason not to actually put the effort in and the knowledge and actually use our brains to find this information on our own and actually learn a little bit of things. So it's a really important issue to bring up. And I guess we will see what it leads to in the future years and what it'll eventually lead to. It did say that our time, we only have 9 minutes left. So do you still have a little bit of time left?
I have 6 minutes on my clock.
6 minutes? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So let's finish up then. What is one project you are proud of that CENIA has completed? That once you have been there?
Uh, by far the Latin American AI Index. It's a very, very beautiful project because, you know, when when you look around the discussion on AI, you see the frameworks, the reflections, the conclusions, the recommendations, they all come from the Northern globe. Everybody, like Europe, States, Canada, China. And that's because you are developing the technology. It's natural, but we are completely unseen, like Latin American, Caribbean. We are not part of any discussion because nobody understands what's happening inside our region, or nobody understood. So this project was a big effort of, well, many institutions still, yeah, so, but we held the project, and today we actually have a picture of the ecosystem, the landscape of AI in our region, where what is being researched, who are doing some stuff, what are the governments thinking, which are the concerns, where are the weaknesses, where are the opportunities. That was something that 1 year before didn't exist at all. So I'm very proud of that, on the job that we have made, because we are not, well, participating so strongly on the international discussion of standards or something like that, but we are now considered like people, like key decision makers on, I don't know, the UN or OECD or every APEC, whatever. They know what's happening actually in Latin America and the Caribbean region. They can understand the consequences of the decisions that they are taking. They can look for the actors who they have to talk with. And that's something that wasn't able 1 year ago before this index. So that's the project that I'm most proud we have done.
Okay, good. So I understood that you guys did an event, I think it was in November of last year in 2023. The Ministerial and High Authority Summit that took place in Santiago, Chile.
Mm.
Why do you think these kind of events are important, in order to talk about like the ethics of AI and the growth of it as well? Why are you guys doing these kind of events?
Well, that event was co-organized with UNESCO, CAF, and the Ministry of Science of Chile. The second version will have place in October in Uruguay, and it's important because today states, like governments, they don't have any power or understanding on this technology. If you make a parallelism with, I don't know, nuclear weapons, for example, nuclear weapons were developed under the tutelage of governments, for good or for bad, but political politicals that were representatives of people took decisions on that. So they invested money on, quit money on the development of that technology during the World War II and afterwards, you know? Well, with AI, that's not happening. Governments, like democratic representatives, don't have any power on what OpenAI or Google or, I don't know, Microsoft or AWS doing with data and investments. Because they are private, and it's okay. They are private companies, but governments don't have any power, that direct power on the decisions that they are making, and they well, there's a lot of lobbying of stuff, so they won't have that problem. So from the global south, particularly from Latin America and the Caribbean, we must have a conversation on, okay, what's happening with these private companies, with these models, with these solutions in our territories? What's happening with our sovereignty? What's happening with regulation? How we are facing this, all these challenges that I told you. So the confirmation of these summits are very important to have like common ground between countries of the global south to achieve something. I don't know if a very big something, but something together, because the challenges that we are facing have much more in common between our countries that the challenges that are Germany or European governments or China or States or Canada, So acting as a block, as a coordinate block, it's very important in this discussion.